I am Dexter Yeager's little brother. I'm the guy they don't talk about at family reunions. I want to tell you what a great honor it is to be asked to come here by my hero, Dexter Yeager. Dexter and Bertie has changed this country, turned this country around, and when absolutely turned it around. And their family is going to continue to guide this organization and this country so we can get back to doing what Americans do best, and that is leading. We're going to take it back, folks. Now, as Dexter said, I am a UC Berkeley graduate, and that does make me a recovering liberal. And I want you to know, as I mentioned last night, I have a 12-step program, and it's called Making Money Every Month. Because I found that the quickest cure for a liberal is income that you control, that you own. And so I went to Berkeley because it was the best school around, and I did something that the professors really were terrified at. I conducted an action that really worried my professors. I read those books. I actually thought, I actually analyzed, and I listened, and I paid attention. And before I went to Berkeley, I had this little thing called a mother. And Mom instilled in me the capacity to actually analyze and come to my own conclusions. So when I got this left, liberal, God-hating organization called UC Berkeley, and it threw at me all these self-hatred programs, in the midst of all this, something began to happen. And I want to go back and start of how I got to Berkeley and what mindset I had when I arrived and why I changed my mind and the result of this book. But something that I want to leave you, I want to start off with is the understanding that we, as we sit here today, as we sit here in 2001, we are at a crossroads in our nation. We are at an absolute crossroads. Folks, do you realize that the last election, a candidate for president stood before the American people and promised that if you elect him, he promised to take more of your taxes. He promised to control more of your lives. He promised to take control of your children's education. He promised to make you more dependent upon his government. He promised you this, and half the folks went to the polls, voted for him. We are at a crossroads as a nation. Why would we vote for someone that promised us that the result of our labor he is going to control and take and make us think that it's natural and normal and acceptable and desirable? The notion that what you earn every day belongs to him and he will give you back a little something if you're nice and good and kind is that of a slave. See, the slave works in the fields for a master. The slaves pick the cotton, hoe the ground, harvest the grain for a master, not for himself. And he has no claim on anything that belongs to the master. We are at a crossroads of whether or not we're going to be slaves to our government or masters of our own future. It is time we wake up, folks, because we're going to lose our nation. Now, you need to know a little bit about me, folks. I am what they call a CWA. I am a conservative with an attitude. Some people call me a Christian with an attitude, but I have an attitude, folks, because there's something in this nation that I hold dear. That's our independence, and we're not going to lose it. We're going to take it back. But I'm going to talk to you tonight about what a slave is, because if you don't understand what a slave is, you're not going to recognize if you are. We're going to give a test tonight to see if you in fact are a slave. Some of you are going to get a little nervous when you leave out of here. You may find out that you are a slave, and first off, I want to tell you that this organization, you guys are my heroes. You're my heroes. I'm going to explain to you why you're my heroes. Because for a decade, I have been out knocking holes in walls. I've been out protesting, demonstrating, going out with bodyguards, talking to the slaves about getting free, and no one understood what I was saying. Now you come to one of these little house meetings, watch the circles being drawn, and you get it. You see yourself in the circle. You see yourself actually being at the top. You can understand the goals, you can understand the strategy, and you see it, you see how it's going to work, and you get excited, and you sign up, and you run out, and you run to who? Your best friend, your wife, your husband, your mom. And you say, boy, here's a great plan. You run to your buddy at work who's been complaining along with you for 10 years about how hard it is working for this idiot you're working for. And you come to him with this plan, I have a way out, I found a way out. And you explain this to him the best way you can, and he looks at you and his eyes glaze over. And he wants to know what happened to his buddy. Why are you so crazy? What's wrong with you? And he doesn't get it. You spend 2 years trying to convince this person that this is going to work. The reason why it takes so long, the reason why they didn't get it and you did, is because they are a slave and you were just a prisoner looking for an escape. So you see, folks, you can't tell a slave about freedom. Master has told that slave that freedom is negative. Freedom is bad. The desire for freedom is dangerous. Who's going to take care of you? I've always taken care of you. Who's going to provide for your security? Who's going to take care of your children, your retirement, your school, your education, your health, your prescription drugs? You don't need to be free. You need to get a better job on the plantation. Work a little harder for me. Get back in the fields, boy. We're going to take care of things for you. You saw a presidential candidate tell you that he will take 12% of your income and tax you when he takes it, keep it in a lockbox, until you retire, collect interest on your money, and then when you retire, when he, by the way, proclaims your retirement age for you, he will then give you back a little bit if he likes you, if you don't make too much money, if you don't be involved in too many activities he doesn't agree with. He will give you back your money, but he will tax you when he gets it back to you also. He promises you that that will make you socially secure. In the same breath, he will tell you that the notion for you to take that same 12% of your salary and purchase U.S. savings bonds or put it in your 401k program or your IRA program and collect interest and retire with over $1 million in the bank, that is risky for you. You see, folks, freedom is always risky for master. Always. Now, when I was at Berkeley, I'm listening to professors and they're saying this really odd things to me. They're saying liberals are for the poor and conservatives are for the rich. Now, I'm thinking, I'm paying my way through Berkeley, by the way, folks. I don't play basketball. I'm paying my way through Berkeley, and this idiot is telling me that liberals are for the poor and conservatives are for the rich. And I'm thinking, which one do I want to be when I grow up? Let me see if I got it right here. And I begin to look and notice, he was right. I begin to notice because I noticed that Democrats, I worked for a lot of, I was a good liberal. I want you to know I was a good liberal. I was in the thick of it, folks. I have a degree in black history. I speak Swahili fluently, and I was with the Black Panthers. I wasn't joining them because I don't like, gangs and corruption and extortion. I'm sorry. But I noticed something, folks. See, liberals understand poverty. They know that if you put poor people together in one community, in one neighborhood, I don't care if you call it an Indian reservation, a trailer court, double wide. I don't care if you call it an intercity ghetto. I don't care what you call it. You put poor people together in one community, and liberals understand that you are guaranteed to breed more poverty, more drugs, more gangs, higher teen pregnancy rates, low self-esteem, gang prep schools, but you're also guaranteed 100% of the time to breed more Democratic voters. They know that. They know, folks, that the poorer you are, the more you're going to vote Democratic. They know that you will never find a poor neighborhood in this nation voting Republican. They know that the poorer you are, the more you're going to depend on them, and they will continue to give you, if you're hungry, they give you government cheese. Need people to stay, they give you low-income housing. They always have a plan for you. The plan is to make you comfortable in your poverty. They will take care of the babies you make, and they will train them their way to be better slaves than you. We call them public schools now. They know, folks, that poverty breeds Democratic voters. And as a young college student, I'm thinking, gee, okay, now Republicans know that I'm not going to vote for them until I get money in my pocket. Gee, let me think again. Which one do I want to be, conservative or liberal? Now, at that moment, folks, something happened to me. I was a militant. I wore my dashiki, my afro. I got my big African medallion on my head. I play the Congo drums. I'm into it, folks, and it dawned on me. It dawned on me that I was simply making more slaves for the master. And when that dawned on me, I became very embarrassed. I became depressed. I became angry at myself. I am fighting to enslave my people deeper by serving the master, trying to make sure he manages his slaves better. And it wasn't a black and white thing, folks, because you're all slaves, you got a job out here. I'm telling you that right now. And you better be hoping to get free. It dawned on me that I was a slave. I was one of the managers. You know, the greatest hope for a slave is to get the best job on the plantation. I had a pretty good job on the plantation. And when I graduated from Berkeley, I competed for a job with the Department of Energy. I was so proud of myself. The first one of my family to go to the military, the first one to go into college, the first one to get a good job. And I was so proud of myself. I got this great job, and in 4 years, I had exploded up the chain of command until I was right below management. And I went to my manager one day and I said, let me see, sir, I've been here 5 years and I've been promoted 5 times, and I'm now 1 pay grade below you, and you've been here 13 years, 8 in the same pay grade. I don't think I'm going to make it past you. So I'm quitting. I'm leaving. And I'm going into business against you. He spent a half an hour, including lunch, saying, Mason, you got a great future here. I can really use you here. Mason, you got a lot of talent. You're growing a lot here. I can really use you, Mason. Just don't be rash. Think about it for a little while. Let's see what we can do, because Mason, this company, we need you, and we really have a great use for you. And I said, you know, that's the problem. I'm just tired of being used. I want to know tonight, are you tired of being used? Are you really tired of going to work every day, driving that 5-year-old car that can't run good? You still got payments on it. Are you tired of them taking all of your money every time you use your money? Are you tired of trying to pay off a home, knowing you don't have enough money to even pay the taxes when you retire? Are you tired of sending your kids to these game prep schools of low self-esteem, teaching them self-hatred? Are you tired of someone having total control over your life? If you're tired of it, you are just a prisoner looking for a way out. There is a way out, but you have to first be tired of it. I can't retire because I'm the boss. You know, I'm going to tell you, you guys have this little thing called residuals. I'm going to tell you how good residuals are. It dawned on me one day. I didn't call it residuals. I just call it making money for a living. And so I didn't know what residuals were called. But one day, I write for the local paper. We have 8 newspapers in about 3 counties, and they print my articles. I send them in every Wednesday before noon, and they print what they want to print. One day, the editor called to argue. He's a very lewd man. He's a liberal to the worst degree. And he called me to debate my article. He didn't like what I was saying. And I'm in my cell phone driving, and I'm just laughing. I'm laughing. What's the matter? Why are you laughing so much, Mason? I said, I'm laughing because it feels so good not needing your opinion about this. It just feels good. It feels so good to know I don't need to please you on this. Either print it or don't print it. That's your opinion. I'm free. That felt good, folks. That's freedom. Now, I'm going to tell you the difference between a slave and a prisoner. You see, a slave thinks that his greatest hope in life is to please his master, is to work hard for master. He doesn't desire to be free. He doesn't desire to be on his own. He thinks there's two classes of people, owners and workers. And he doesn't see himself as an owner. And so when you go to a slave, he resents even the notion that he can be what he doesn't think he is. He'll waste all your time and all your energy bringing you down, and all the folks you bring him around, because he has a partisan mentality. But a prisoner, folks, a prisoner will spend 20 years with a spoon trying to dig a hole through a concrete wall. You cannot keep a prisoner until he dies. A prisoner understands that over that wall is freedom, over that wall is prosperity, over that wall is self-determination. A prisoner desires one thing: to get over that wall. And when you show this plan to a prisoner, folks, you got a firebrand on your hands. He understands. Now, if you throw a rope to a slave, the slave thinks you're going to lynch him. You try to get a slave out of slavery by throwing a rope to him, he must hate him. How dare you try to bring me down by giving me a rope? A slave will resist you, will fight against you when you come to him and try to help him out. But you throw a rope over the wall to a prisoner, he will grab it, thank you for it, praise you for it, be your buddy, work with you to get other folks out also. That what you want here? That what you want here? You want prisoners, folks. Now, some of you bring these slaves into your prison farm and got your rope already and throwing the rope over the side over here, and your slaves are oiling the rope for you. They just put a little oil on the rope because the slave doesn't want you to be free or your other prisoners, and they will oil your rope, put grease on the rope, try all they can do. While you're up there working, they're up there doing the little grease. What do you call it? W-40? What's it called? Now, some of you may have brought some slaves here this weekend. They're sitting around all in your rope for you. And then the way you get around that is by tying a knot in those ropes. So you can hold on and grasp on, and you tie 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 7, 8 knots, as much as it takes to get to where you want to get to, the top of that wall. And a knot, every FED you go to is a knot. Every meeting every plan you show is a knot. Everyone you sign up for the freedom train is a knot. And you will be climbing out and leading other people free. You can't be free unless you got freedom up here, folks. It has to be a desire. So how are you going to live your life, whether you're going to be free or slaves, all depends on how you handle your rope. Are you going to let someone else play with the rope for you? Are you going to be a slave, be afraid of the rope, be afraid of freedom? People are afraid, folks, of freedom. There's an old saying, dare to be rich, because it is a dare. It is frightening for some people to be rich. I was tired of being a slave. I decided to be a prisoner and dig my way out. And what I noticed is that a lot of folks around me did not want me to be free. The reason why, of course, is that if I became free, they could also. They were just lazy. I'm going to tell you why the people you talk to, some folks you talk to, cannot comprehend freedom. I'll tell you why they can't accept the truth that you're giving them. Because, folks, many people know the truth when they hear it. And the truth will set you free. But there's a reason why some people reject the truth. Because when you accept the truth, when you hear the truth and accept it as true, when you believe in your heart it is true, the truth compels you to action. You cannot accept the truth and not be moved by it and not act upon it. You cannot do that. Your only hope is to throw the truth out, ridicule the truth teller, try to disguise the truth in magical thinking or somehow deny the reality of the truth. You cannot accept the truth because you will have to do something. In any circumstances, you have an abused woman that's beaten by her husband. You can't go to her and say, leave that man. He's beating you up. She doesn't understand what you mean. She will continue to go back to that abusive husband because, oh, how am I going to eat? Who'll take care of my kids? She has all the excuses in the world. And if you do get her away, she'll go find another abusive husband to take care of her because she has not accepted the truth. But once she understands, I have to get out of this, once she accepts the truth that he is an abusive husband and will not change, you don't have to tell her to get away. And the same thing in this business, the same thing in being free. If you are a freedom person who believes in freedom, you're going to accept freedom as a resource and as a possibility, and you're going to walk toward freedom. Well, at Berkeley, when I finally accepted the truth, folks, you have to understand, I had to leave my friends and look to them as enemies and go and find new friends that I used to call my enemies. That was tough. But I was determined to be free. I was determined that no one was going to stop me from being successful. And in this business, your success comes by you going out like the slaves did and going to freedom. How it worked, folks, and why you're my hero is that you are the new Underground Railroad. You know, the old Underground Railroad was organized by freedom-loving people, citizens, who were already free, most were wealthy, already take care of their business, but they understood there were some slaves out there that had to be free, and they refused. They refused to live in a nation of slavery. They refused to live in a nation that one man held another man bondage. They refused to accept a nation like that. So they banded together and they set up safe houses. And when those few slaves escaped the plantation and got to freedom, they sent them back to their own plantation to lead their own people out. They didn't go to a new plantation or a different plantation or an easy plantation. They sent them back to their plantation for a reason. Because when you knock on that door at 1 o'clock in the morning and you open your door up, there was your mother that took off last summer. There was your brother that left last spring. And master told you he died and she wasn't coming back. And that escaping is death. But there was living proof in front of you now. There was mom and dad and sister or brother. And they knock on that door and they tell you, master is lying to you about freedom. Master is lying to you about your ability to get ahead, to take care of yourself, to be economically free. He is lying to you. I have been to freedom. I've gone to freedom. I have seen freedom. I'm coming back to take you to freedom. Let's go to freedom. And they pick them up and they take them with them and they make them a promise. If you stumble, we'll pick you up. If you get lost, we're going to find you. We will never leave you. When we know the way, we know the fears, we know the obstacles, we will take you all the way to freedom. If I get lost, I'll find somebody that knows the way better. Now, what you're doing, you're telling people that are in slavery, I have been to freedom. I have been and heard Dexter. I have seen his leaders who've come up. I have witnessed this to success. I know how to get to freedom. Let's go to freedom. If you get lost, we're going to find you. If you stumble, we're going to pick you up. If you get discouraged, we're going to encourage you. We're going to all go to freedom together. Let's go. Pick it up. And today, instead of having safe house meetings in the cornfields in the South, you're having home meetings now all across this nation. And you're sitting down at the homes, at the kitchen table with the wife and the husband and the children, and you're talking about freedom. You're bringing a message of hope and freedom, and they're scared and they're nervous, and you're saying, but you can do it. Master is lying to you. You can be free. You can be independent. His only hope, his only power is to convince you that you can do it. But I have come to tell you, I have seen freedom work. It is working for me and my family. We're going to take you with us, and we desire to help you every step of the way. But you got to get up and you got to walk. You got to take that first step. We can't take it for you, folks. Harriet Tubman went 27 times 27 times to her plantation, to her own plantation. Folks, they had to know she was coming. 27 times she went to bring out her mother, her sister, her family, her children. 27 times with a bounty, dead or alive, $40,000. Dead or alive. A slave could buy their freedom for $500, and they were offering $40,000 dead or alive. She never got caught, and she never lost one slave. The reason why is that she only took those who really wanted to go to freedom. Now, folks, you got some choices to make. We're going to do a little test here. We're going to find out if you are a slave or a prisoner. We're going to find out if your rope is greased or if it's bone dry. We're going to find out if someone's controlling your destiny or you're controlling your own. It's a real simple test. If you felt that the rope you have has drugged you to this meeting this weekend, if you felt that this was really a waste of your time, but I got to go because she's going to nag me till I go to one of these doggone meetings. If you felt like you were just trapped and don't understand what's going on like a rabbit in the middle of the freeway with the lights on them, if you think that perhaps this may or may not work, but you're not sure because you haven't seen enough, if you are that way, you may very well possibly be a slave. If you cannot wait to get back on that freeway Monday morning and drive those glorious 2 hours to work, if you cannot wait to get that coffee at the coffee shop and go on down and deal in your little cubicle and wait for your retirement, if you cannot wait to see your boss on Monday, you may very well be a slave. Now, if you're sitting around wondering when this guy's going to quit so I can go get my donut before they close room service, if you're sitting around wondering if you're ever going to get your investment back because you don't know if you can convince your mama to join, if you're thinking about failure, then maybe, perhaps, could be, I don't know, but you may be a slave. But if you borrowed money to come here, if you're one of the people that stand out loud an hour ahead of time to get a good seat, if you're the guy that's up at 3 o'clock in the morning and can't go to bed because you're too excited, you found your tunnel over the hill, over the wall, you found your rope hanging over the wall, if you're the one who can't get enough of learning, if you're buying your tools out there and studying and listening to your tapes, then boy, I tell you, you are a prisoner. You are a prisoner. Now, prisoner, you gotta guard your rope. Don't let nobody grease your rope up. Don't let them bring you down and make you slip and slide, because see, folks, that's all they can do for you. The enemy of this country, the enemy of this organization only has one tool: convincing you can't do it. Because they know, buddy, they understand there's too much evidence around. If you open your eyes up and see the folks walking across this stage all afternoon, if you have not seen enough evidence to convince you, you're blind and you're a slave. But it's obvious. It really is obvious. Success really is available to you. Success is at your doorstep. Someone, if you're new here today, someone has tremendously blessed you by bringing you here. You are among the abolitionists. You're among the safe house coordinators. You are among people who insist on being free and live in a nation that everyone is free. You are now among a whole new breed of people that was once thought extinct. The kind of man and woman that would stand up and say, no one will be free unless all of us are free. And that's the American spirit, folks. So who's greasing your rope? Who's taking control of your life? The old Underground Railroad depended on two things: slaves willing to go back and risk all they had to bring folks out, and abolitionists willing to stand up and organize and thrust them out. Dexter Yeager, believe it or not, understands business. Believe it or not. Dexter Yeager, believe it or not, understands how to turn a profit. In case you haven't figured it out yet, Dexter Yeager can probably figure out how to be independent financially. Yep. Tell you a little secret, am I something you didn't know? You can take every dime Dexter Yeager has away from him. You can take away his jewelry, his friends, his bank account, his contacts. You can take away all of his social power and influence. You can take away his ability to earn a living and just put him in a strange community that no one has ever heard of, Dexter Yeager. Dirt broke with no recourse. And in a very few period of time, he will still be on the stage again, walking back and forth, showing you how to do it because he understands the way to freedom. He understands the way to freedom. Now, knowing the way to freedom gives you confidence. You can take away everything he has, and it will give him confidence. He knows he can get it back. Now, folks, I know a lot of very successful people and businesses. I know a major brewery producer sells most of the beer that was drunk all weekend in the hotel up the stairs by those coaches. I know the lady whose family used to own the tire company that is now being recalled because they put those bad cars on SUVs. I won't mention their names. But I know these two people personally. I know a guy that owns a major airlines personally. Call him at home, sit back and visit. And they're buddies. They would help me. They would encourage me. They would give me advice. They would tell me it's going to be okay and everything will be great. It's nice to know these people. When I travel to Washington, D.C., I stay at the Watergate with them, and it's great. But I'll tell you one thing, I could not go to the woman that owns the national beer distributorship and say, will you show me how to open up a distributorship so I can compete against your sons? Can you show me how to build one, manufacture the beer? Give me your recipe and give me a list of distributors I can depend upon. Can you show me how to compete against your children? I don't think she's going to do that. I cannot go to the tire manufacturer and tell me if she could help me produce a set of tires to compete against her and her children, because that's how business is set up. They will not help you in their business. But in this organization, it's something a little different, folks. Not only do you have access to a man that is extremely successful at doing what he's doing, a man that understands the pitfalls and the benefits of what he is doing, a man that is able and capable of showing you the way. He is eager to show you the way. He is, matter of fact, eager not only to show you how he has done what he has done, he is eager to show you how you can do better than what he has done. Now, that is a blessing that I was speaking of, and I said you have been blessed by being brought here, because now you're in the presence of not just Dexter Yeager and his direct downlines, but the people that brought you here are equally eager to show you how you can be better at that than they are, because they're motivated by freedom, not by money, by freedom. When I was a young man, what motivated me more than anything else was this notion that someone else controlled my life. Folks, how many here notice that I'm black? That notice that? Yeah, I've been black most of my life. There was a little period of time at Berkeley I was an African American, but I got over that. Yeah, I got over that. I realized that if I moved to Africa, they would not call me an African American African. And I had this little notion. It was really interesting, because people are always telling me as a black person what I cannot do. As a black person, you cannot do this. I mean, all my life. And I've always thought it was interesting that my skin color and shade was a barrier to them, not to me. And what happened when I was a young man in college, something dawned on me as a black man, because, as a Berkeley militant, your life was centered around you being a black man. The Romans called this, folks, separation, what do they call it, divide and conquer. And the old Southern gentlemen in the South call it separate but equal. Today they call it, I think, multiculturalism, where we're all divided by our differences. We're divided by our race, by our height, by our skin color, by our gender, by our income level. We're divided by the East Coast and the West Coast. We're divided by those in the North and those in the South. We're divided by every divisional standard you can come up with. Because Master knows that while we're interested in our division, he's controlling the plantation, and we're working hard to keep each other down instead of trying to deal with him and his slave managers. So with me, they have assigned me tribal chiefs called black leaders. I never voted for one in my life, but they've assigned me black leaders because the master thinks that I'm too stupid to think on my own. One fell from grace this weekend, but he will be replaced by another one. And they're telling me that I have to think one way and act one way and accept certain things and believe certain things. And if I step out of my realm that they have set for me, that I have somehow stepped out of the realm of being a black man. And it's amazing to me. As a young man, I began to realize something. As a black man, I began to realize my history. Because, you know, I broke the law recently. I have a confession to make. The U.S. Census Bureau, when the forms came out, I didn't fill it out. I wanted to fill it out. I was eager to fill it out, but I couldn't because of my limitations. I can't read very well, see, and I looked at the form and I couldn't find the box to check for American. Couldn't. I'm sure it was there somewhere. I know it was there somewhere. I couldn't find it, so I didn't fill it out. And when they called me, I asked, please, ma'am, show me where I can find. You have African American, Eskimo American, Indian American, Irish American. You have, folks, everything but an American. And I just want to be an American. You know, that's all I want to be. And so my process began when I noticed this pseudo Pan-Africanism, pride in your blackness. You know, I have a degree in black history, folks, and I do speak Swahili, and I know who I am as a person, and what I am as a person after 9 generations fighting in every war this country has had, after having a family cemetery in Starkville, Mississippi, with black slaves dated back to 1829. After contributing to every economic, political, social, historical change in this country's history, if I'm not an American, what on earth am I? I have professors that criticize my notion that I'm an American, and this one guy was a black history teacher, German, blue-eyed, blonde. He's trying to tell me about my African heritage and about America. And I made a comment to the professor, in spite of Jim Crow laws and slavery and the black codes, in spite of segregation, in spite of whippings and lynchings and murder and rape, in spite of 45 years of Democratic control of Congress, black Americans are the richest, the most powerful, the best educated, the most influential black folks on this planet. What am I? Why am I, you know, folks, and I told him, it doesn't matter where you came from. Germany, Sweden, England, South America, North America, you're all better off here than where you came from. And the reason why is that what we have done together in this country, together. We didn't do it separately. We didn't do it separately, we did it together. We have contributed all of the cultures of the world into this culture, a unique culture. The most envious culture on the planet is called the American culture. And the lewd left, I call them the lewd left because they call me the religious right. The lewd left wants to divide you up by your differences because they understand one thing division will always do, folks. They understand that wherever you look on the planet today, and you see more than one culture trying to get together in one geographical region, you have civil war. Ask Northern Ireland and Israel and Pakistan. Ask Quebec. Everywhere you see more than one culture, you have war. And the liberals thrive in war and strife and division. They control you out of fear. So instead of you wanting to be free, they want you to want to be safe. So when they can convince you there's a crime crisis, you let them give you a crime bill. Whenever they tell you there is an educational crisis, you let them give you an educational bill. Whenever there is a health crisis, you get a health bill, and every bill takes away more of your freedom, and you are a slave. So my solution is real simple. I'm going to take away the fear. I'm going to take away the fear of being successful, the fear of going out on my own, the fear of starving out there in the wilderness trying to escape. I had to find a safe house, a safe haven where I can be around other people like myself. You heard this message all day, all weekend. Get around people like yourself that come out of this. I was so full of hatred at Berkeley. I was so full of anger at America that I could not take care of my family nor be successful because I hated everyone. When I gave that hate up, I realized that the only barrier to my success, the only power on the planet strong enough to keep Mason Weaver down was Mason Weaver. So, who's going to tie the knots in your rope? Who's going to control your rope? Who's going to give you the effort that you need to bring yourself from slavery to freedom? Who's going to provide security for the prisoner to escape that prison? While you're traveling on the freeway, going to work, think about your condition in life, folks. I had to decide if I was going to let all the world who told me how tough it was to be black in America, people who it's really amazing because what they would do is tell you why you cannot compete against them. That's amazing. The job I got with the Department of Energy, there were 2,500 people trying for 3 jobs. A little competitive. Everyone kept trying to find a reason why I could not compete with them. Because they didn't want me to take the job. They tried everything in the book. I got that job because I was the best person for the job. But when I went into the Department of Energy and became the senior negotiator at 28 years old, and I go in to negotiate this large government contract with a guy who had been negotiating longer than I've been living. We all met, my group and his group came into the room together, and they thought I may be the lawyer, maybe the engineer, perhaps the project manager, maybe one of the scientists, but not the head negotiator. And this guy looked at me and said, which is a standard question, where'd you graduate from? And I said, Berkeley. He said, oh, Berkeley, affirmative action, huh? I said, well, Charlie, if you believe that, that makes you probably won't prepare for negotiations. It was the first time in 15 years they lost money on negotiations. They want you to think of yourself as lacking who you are, lacking ability, lacking prestige, lacking legitimacy, so that you can let them guide you and guard over you, because that's the only power they have, folks. They figured that if you act like a sheep and they act like sheep herders, you're going to follow them. This government and this nation is terrified of Dexter Yeager. I'm going to tell you why. Because there's 3 things that he is teaching you that they cannot control and will make you free. 3 things he's giving you that will make you able to go and compete against them and their children. 3 things he is providing for you that will make sure that you will never serve them as master or slave again. There are 3 things. Independent business owners. They can control you, folks. They cannot control you. So if you are tired of being manipulated by someone else, if you're tired of half of your income being confiscated in taxes, if you're tired of not having control over even your savings, if you're tired of your children being under control of government tyranny, if you're tired of being told that the avenue for success is closed to you, if you're tired of someone else controlling your future and your retirement, if you're tired of mother being afraid she may lose her prescription drugs, if you're tired of that, then stop it. But don't depend on master to free you. Don't depend on master. What happened to the slaves, my ancestors, was that the Union troops showed up to the plantation gate and kicked it wide open. Today it's called Dexter Yeager. Kicking it wide open, folks. My father says that only a fool will starve in the land of plenty. This is the land of plenty. They have taken what we have. They have taken control of our lives. I will grant them that. But in the Bible, when David went to God and said, they have taken my possessions, they've taken our wives, our children, our property, they've taken everything we have, God said, did I give you that stuff? Did I give you those wives and those children? Did I give you that possession, that land, that business? That's your stuff, David. Go and get your stuff. Folks, let's go and get our stuff. God bless you.